The body is the vehicle, consciousness the driver, yoga is the path, and the chakras are the map. Welcome to Astral Doorway, everyone. My name is Gene, and this is the channel's first set of series, which is essentially a free course on the chakras, understanding them and how to awaken them. This will all be put into a new playlist on YouTube. If you're listening on other devices, I recommend to take the time to watch the actual video, as I'll be putting a lot of relevant information, references, and infographics here. During some of those, you may want to pause the video as well so you can analyze or read them better. This particular episode will be an in-depth introduction to lay some crucial fundamentals of the chakras. Do not skip this episode if you want to know what I'm talking about in the next episodes. I'm also assuming you know a little bit about the chakras already, so I won't talk much about the basics because that's all been said on hundreds of videos online. After this episode, there will be 7 more episodes, each one going in depth into illuminating each chakra, practices to awaken them, and more. There will also be an extra episode after the episode about the 7th chakra, where I'm going to explain some even more powerful practices in depth for awakening the chakras. There will also be practices given in each episode too. So that's 9 episodes in total. I assume these episodes will be longer than I anticipate because there is just so much to say and I can't fit in everything. So let's also turn this into an interactive series and leave me your questions on YouTube below related to the topics I will be discussing, and I will try to answer them in the upcoming 8 episodes over the span of these next 8 weeks. I'm quite excited to give you all this information. A lot of it you won't find on the internet easily. If you're excited to take this journey with me too, consider supporting on Patreon, where you'll receive these episodes earlier. Be sure to be subscribed as well and turn on the bell notification so you know when I release the next episode, and also share it with others who you think would be interested in this in-depth and practical course on the chakras. Okay, so let's get into it. Much has been said about what we call the chakras. The word chakra comes from the Sanskrit word wheel. So these are circular magnetic regions in the body. They are the 7 main energetic centers of the human body. These centers through which we, as a soul, as consciousness, animate the physical body. The study of this goes very deep, and there's many systems and teachings on them. It's so deep, in fact, that if you think you know what the chakras are, you're probably mistaken. Perhaps you've taken a masterclass thinking you know all about them in 5 minutes, but it would be absolutely wrong to think you could understand them that quick, because in order to totally understand the chakras, you would have had to fully awaken each one on a significant and permanent level. And this is part of the purpose of our entire lives, right? To realize these manifestations of energy within us. It's a whole life process to understand, not a 5-minute video on YouTube. So we're going to study many aspects, because to study the chakras is also to study Kundalini, Prana, hormones, ego, meditation, and much more. This all, of course, ties in deeply with the awakening of consciousness, astral projection, enlightenment, healing, telepathy, clairaudience, opening the third eye, and much more. We're going to study them from many angles, that is, from the perception of mainstream spirituality, as well as scientifically, psychologically, biologically, religiously, and of course, through all this, I'll be offering my own understanding with the background of what I've learned in Gnosticism and over 11 years of practicing all of this myself, with my background of spiritual experiences, which many of you know about. All of this, of course, relates to also Hinduism, Buddhism, and Christian sciences also. There are many chakras, by the way, over 100 of them, many energy currents in the body, but the main 7 synthesize all of these. So that's all that's really necessary to understand here. Kundalini is also going to be a strong theme in this series. It's intimately tied to the 7 chakras. It's the fuel of our chakras, you could say. To awaken Kundalini is also to raise 7 serpents, also known as 7 cosmic fires. The number 7 in nature is very significant. It's the principle through which all things are created. The 7 chakras are reflections of this, you see. They are 7 manifestations of cosmic energy within us. These energies which can be self-realized on a profound level. You'll see online a lot of superficial interpretations of what the chakras mean to us as humans, but these are really just our human egoic interpretations of what is really pure and divine cosmic energy. We use them in this way, but really the aim of spirituality and the aim of this series is to get in touch with this energy at its raw, primal level, not all these manifestations of egoic expressions, right? And so this law of 7 in nature can be seen expressed in many ways. Thus, we have the 7 days of the week, 7 chakras, 7 primary colors, 7 primary musical notes, the 7 primary planets, the 7 churches in the Bible which correlate to each chakra. That's right, the Bible teaches the chakras too in the book of Revelation. More on this later. And we also have the 7 primary endocrine glands in the body, which also correlate to each chakra, which I'll list now. There are 7 primary glands that medicine recognizes, but I'm going to list more than 7 glands here because there are various spiritual chakra systems describing different things, and I don't want to waste time arguing the validity of what's right and wrong. So, we have the first chakra, the root chakra, the Muladhara chakra in Sanskrit. It is the Church of Ephesus in the Bible, located in the coccyx and also in the gonads. So that's the testes gland in men and the ovary glands in women. Some systems will say this is also related to the adrenal glands too. Next up is the sacral chakra, Svadhisthana, the Church of Smyrna, located in the prostate gland in men or uterus gland in women. Some systems mix the testes and prostate with the first and second chakra and accordingly swap the ovaries and uterus. Let's not get mixed up with technicalities, it's all in the same lower region of the body anyway. Next is the solar plexus chakra, Manipura, the Church of Pergamos, located in the pancreas gland or also the adrenal glands of the kidneys. Next is the heart chakra, Anahata, the Church of Thyatira, located in the heart gland. We'll also be looking at an extra chakra of the lungs related to the heart because this will be to do with remembering our past lives. More on this later. Next is the throat chakra, Vishuddha, the Church of Sardis, located in the thyroid gland of the throat. Next is the third eye chakra, Ajna, the Church of Philadelphia, located in the pituitary gland. Now, some systems will say this chakra is in the pineal gland, but really the pineal gland is the highest chakra. I also confuse myself too sometimes, so like I said, let's not get caught up in technicalities. It will make more sense when we get to that episode. And the last one, of course, is the crown chakra, Sahasrara, the Church of Laodicea, located in the pineal gland. As it is commonly said, the pineal gland is the seat of the soul, the seat being the throne, to use a Christian reference, where our king or father in heaven, heaven symbolizing the head, lives with his crown, which has many points to symbolize the many petals on this chakra as depicted in drawings of the chakra in India, which also relates to or looks like the pine cone. The pineal gland literally, biologically, looks like a pine cone as well. By telling you the churches as well, you can get an idea that, what do we do in churches? We commune. And so the purpose of working with chakras is to commune within the body, within these 7 different centers. This is why other videos on YouTube which deal with the chakras in a superficial way, saying, you can develop a really nice personality, a nice ego, right, are kind of distasteful because the chakras are cosmic energy. It's something to be dealt with in a sacred way. And so, as well as these manifestations of the law of seven in the cosmos, we also have the seven spiritual bodies, each one correlating to seven dimensions in nature. These seven spiritual bodies are the physical body, so the physical world, of course, the etheric body, astral body, mental body, buddhic body, and the atmic body. In other systems, you will find different names for the different spiritual bodies, but let's not get caught up in that too, especially after the mental body, the manifestations of the higher bodies of intelligence start to become extremely abstract. So it's almost profane to even try and label them and argue about which one is right. The astral body is already hard enough to understand directly. Now, as for the references to the Bible teaching the chakras, I know you might be thinking, what? Or, Gene, this is hearsay. As a disclaimer, you may not agree with a lot of what I'm going to share about the chakras, especially if you've read various resources before, since it's an overly popular topic, right? Well, if you don't like that idea of the Bible teaching the chakras, I suggest just clicking off this video and go watch some other generic video about the chakras. You know, the Bible is meant to be understood intuitively, not literally, but I understand most of the viewers here will already know that. For example, in the story where thousands of people ran out of Egypt and Moses saved the people by parting the Red Sea, in that little story, you know, the Egyptians represented the ego. And so we have to escape from the ego, escape from our suffering, right? And find higher realms of consciousness. In other words, higher dimensions of our chakras. The burning bushes that Moses saw is that consciousness lighting up to show us the way out of our suffering while traversing the dark path of the desert. Then you see the Red Sea, which symbolizes our deeper emotional, primal, and even sexual nature. And when we learn to control that, we can part the sea, right? Our emotions with our mind. Moses represents the mind. And when we can control our emotions with ease, we can go through the middle of the Red Sea and into the promised land, which is freedom, liberation from suffering. So, just a little example there of how we can see these ancient stories in a different light. If you're still a little skeptical about me referring to the Bible, then let me give some references which will be appropriate for this introductory episode on the chakras. You know, I hate using the word Bible because it has so many emotional connotations to it, right? Let's just call it this ancient Gnostic text, okay? So in Revelation chapter 5, it says, I saw in the right hand of him who sat on the throne a scroll, and within and on the back were sealed 7 seals. In the right hand has a lot of meanings. The right side has so many references throughout this text. But here we can understand that this is referring to sort of the right hemisphere of the brain, because it's the right hemisphere we want to awaken. And the throne means the highest aspect of consciousness, what is also commonly referred to as the throne or the seat of the soul, as I mentioned earlier, the pineal gland. And where it says, I saw a scroll within our body, right, on the back, that refers to the spine. And it says, the back had 7 seals. Obviously, this is referring to the 7 chakras. So to put that into perspective, our divine energy must rise up the 7 seals through the 7 chakras of the spine to reach the throne, the pineal gland, and this awakens the temple of the body. It illuminates the 7 churches, and more specifically, opens the right hemisphere of the brain. Much has been scientifically proven about the right side of the brain and the spirituality to be found there. I'll leave resources in the description below. So, as we study the chakras, we have to understand that the spine is not just a set of bones. It is the heart of the central nervous system which connects the brain, heart, kidneys, etc. all together. It connects all of these chakras together. The spinal column is a thinking part of us. Through the study of the chakras, we can understand that our whole body is an intelligence, not just the brain. That is such an old-fashioned point of view. As you've been seeing on the screen, the chakras have 7 colors. All of the chakras work together to create light, or that is where white light came from and dispersed into 7 rays, cosmic rays. A rainbow is not a rainbow without all of its colors, right? We can't create white light without all of the colors. It's a mistake to think that each chakra awakens individually or independently, or that they awaken systematically one by one. Each chakra is already awakened in tiny degrees in either positive or negative ways within each of us. It's important to not be mere simpletons about this, but to understand that we are deeply complex, energetic beings. Each one relates to the other in a myriad of ways. This whole thing is not a simple matter. Everyone is always looking for simple answers, right? If you're looking for something easy, then just check out all of the other simple videos that are out there that are kind of like chakras for dummies, okay? This takes tremendous work. The development of these energetic centers takes a lot of commitment. In order to progress with this, one has to be willing to be in their own inner isolation and not be caught up in the world of form. That doesn't mean we need to be in physical isolation, although that could help, but it means we aren't moved anymore by the fleeting distractions of life, and we are only concerned with what is actually happening within us. Because as you'll see, the chakras sort of absorb external forces when they shouldn't be, and they should generate their own power. Another general rule that we'll see throughout the relationships that the chakras have with each other is that the first 3 chakras, the root, sacral, and solar plexus, are lower chakras, inferior chakras, you could say, in the sense that they are where most of our animalistic, egoic nature resides, and thus we must learn to control them with our higher chakras, the heart chakra, throat, and head. So we do this by raising the serpent of Kundalini, which is a feminine force. We raise it up through the spinal chakra canal. This feminine force, which awakens the right side of the brain, creates balance and unity with our masculine side, which is known in science as the left hemisphere of the brain. So Kundalini is not just feminine then, but we primarily recognize it as so because all our source of energy comes from our root chakra. It's our divine mother or mother nature which provides us with this energy to ascend upwards to our Father in the heavens in our brain. And how do we do this? Well, to stay with the book of Revelation, it continues to say, the people began to weep bitterly because it says, no man was worthy to open the scroll or look inside it. Now, the root or original meaning of the word man means to think. So it's saying that no man can open up the 7 chakras. Why? Because man, with its thinking mind, cannot open the chakras by thinking. The secrets of the spine cannot be discovered, cannot be felt or opened by speculating, theorizing, or singing about it. It has to be experienced. So it continues to say, do not weep. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah has triumphed to open the scroll and its 7 seals. The Lion of Judah represents the zodiacal sign Leo, which represents the sun and also the heart. The sun being the heart, the center of our solar system, and also the center of our energetic body and chakras. Now, don't worry, these biblical references will make more sense by the end of the series. For example, you'll see how the heart chakra is an essential gateway for unlocking both the lower and higher chakras. So it's through the stimulation of Kundalini energy, which has its feminine power in love, love being the fire of the heart, and this energy rises up the spine, just as the sun rises in physical life through the chakras and bursts open into light, splitting itself into 7 colors of manifestation. The thinking mind cannot open the chakras. The heart must. The heart mind. If you are a somewhat advanced practitioner, you will know that if you place your attention, your awareness in your chest, your heart area, you will feel those vibrations of natural love that come from the heart chakra. Not many people can do this. I get a lot of questions and emails saying, I can't feel anything or any energy in my heart center. So this is what we're here for, right? To try and open and sense and commune with this center of love. If you were ever a teenager and you had your first love, right? Your first crush, you may have noticed burning in your chest, right? This is to do with the heart chakra. So, to understand how the chakras work, we can think of them as 7 magnetic centers within us that attract and accumulate certain forces or energies. Those energies can come from various things. But what is the base or raw force that these centers utilize? Prana. Prana means life force in a spiritual and material sense. Prana is everywhere, in every atom, in all the elements. Prana is also known as the breath. Okay, so it's everywhere. Now, not to get too technical here, but let's understand the metaphysical process through which prana gets stored in the chakras. Because there's a sort of process, you see, because prana is everywhere, right? But prana is primarily, fundamentally non physical. So here's how it descends down into physical matter. First, prana is turned into akash or akasha. This is the principle of ether related to the etheric body. And then it turns into something called tattvas. Tattvas are basically the vibration of the ether. And if you know anything about the etheric body, the ether is sort of that vibratory energy that is in between the physical and spiritual dimensions. I'll leave resources down below if you're interested in all this. It's not too important to know these technicalities, okay? So it's through the aliveness of the tattvas that the chakras vibrate. And when they vibrate, it then stimulates the 7 endocrine glands. And when these glands are stimulated, they secrete a certain type of molecular structure of hormones. We feel this as energy. So, to be more simple, prana goes into the chakras and then into the glands, and the glands create hormones. These hormones are essentially neurotransmitters in the systems of the body. For example, when you feel adrenaline or other intense emotions, they are your chakras at work. Or when you're in deep meditation and you feel ecstasy, bliss, samadhi, it's your pineal gland releasing hormones being chemicals. Serotonin, melatonin, dopamine are all examples of what are essentially hormones, neurotransmitters, or you could also say neurohormones. For example, 50% of dopamine is produced in the intestines. This is in the solar plexus and sacral chakra regions of the body. Have you ever felt butterflies or nervous energy in your solar plexus or belly? Sure, you could say that's just nerves, but no, pay attention. If you paid attention, you would understand it's a certain type of structure of energy in your body being stimulated for various reasons. And you should understand and be conscious of those reasons. And if you would, then you would be able to control it and integrate it instead of you being at the mercy of it, being at the receiving end of it. And if you were in touch with it, it could also be a form of telepathy. Someone sending you information or thinking about you or wants to contact you or something. So telepathy is based in the solar plexus, not in the head, but we'll see more about that in a few episodes. And on that note, to master the sacral chakra in the belly is also to master astral projection as well, by the way, but we'll see more about that too. So, most commonly, we usually recognize these sensations in the belly as when we're nervous or desire something or someone, basically something egoic, right? So, working with these chakras means to work with the chemicals in your body. It is to become an alchemist working in a laboratory, the laboratory being your body. And in order to awaken these chakras, we work with the fire. In other words, the primordial energy, the primordial fire of Kundalini, the same energy which gave you life. What is the sun? It is a flaming sphere, a flaming wheel of fire, which gives us life, which gives us food. It is solar atoms that we are always eating and ingesting into our body and chakras. But fire is also a destructive force too, right? So we'll see why Kundalini has also been understood as a sort of a double-edged sword. So this primordial fire of Kundalini, the same energy which gave you life, rises through the ether, the spiritual dimensions, to connect consciously to the intelligence of the magnetic centers within you. Right now, as novices, our chakras are essentially only getting energies from mostly external things, right? To work with the chakras and Kundalini is a combination of love and psychology, because this energy should flow naturally. But it is our negative and unconscious psychology and emotions which get in the way of being aligned with the source of prana. The source of prana being Kundalini, that feminine force which gives birth to all energy, all manifestations of reality. To use a saying for a lack of better words, this energy is pure, unadulterated love. Hence why relationships are really beneficial for us to practice love. Love surpasses all grips of the ego, but unfortunately today most people don't know how to love, and hence we can see why intimate relationships and awakening the chakras are equally difficult. Okay? If you're too caught up in the intellectual confusion of what love is, stop trying to figure it out. Love arises naturally through the practice of overcoming the ego. To live in a state without ego is love. It's impossible to not experience love if you do not have the ego. If you ever have moments where you feel very out of touch with this deep force of love, you can be sure there's something for you to be actively learning about yourself. This is how Kundalini, or Devi Kundalini, the divine cosmic mother, goddess Shakti, works with us. She is symbolized as a sleeping, dormant serpent at the base of our spine. And when we make her happy and devote ourselves to her by listening to our conscience, she caresses our spine and chakras and imbues us with cosmic energy. But if we constantly do negative acts and stay in lower states of consciousness, she simply recoils. She can't integrate because there's something in the way there, right? You are in the way. We must learn how to surrender, and we must learn what it means to love. It's impossible to raise Kundalini without love. Love is a tremendous, cosmic, powerful force. Get rid of, obliterate the superficial ideas you have of love that you've been conditioned from in society. As I said, the 7 chakras are manifestations, different rays of cosmic energy outside of us and also within us. It is a force that you can become conscious of directly. If you're just wanting to awaken your chakras just for spiritual powers, for your own egoic needs, you will fail. You have to love that which gave us this energy in the first place, that which gave us life. It is our cosmic mother. Just as it's reflected in our physical life, how we came out of the womb of our physical mother, we have a spiritual mother within us too. This is very profound and deep to understand and takes a lot of meditation and contemplation to understand fully. And it's very difficult for me to express the reality of this in ways which it won't be received into our conditioned preconceptual psychology. The cosmic mother is also the ancient Egyptian goddess Nut, she who gives birth to gods. And in a sense, to awaken the chakras, to awaken Kundalini, is to also become a god, not in an egoic sense, but in a divine sense. The goddess Nut specifically gave birth to Osiris, Horus, Isis, and more. And as you can see on the screen, she reclines over the world, revealing her body, her sacred body, being space, being the cosmos itself. Where do the planets reside? In the womb of the universe itself. The divine feminine is the formless, and the divine masculine is form. The divine masculine is any object in space, in consciousness. It could be any object in your house. It could be the planet itself. Do you see where all of these come from? They come from the 7 rays of love, of Kundalini, which is manifested into this earth through the vibration of the tattvas, from pure prana, from pure primal life force. Next time you look up at the night sky, you are looking up at the naked feminine body of creation, the akasha of space, the akash, which is also feminine. So one has to learn to love the aspect of the divine mother or of the feminine. If you don't, then you're denying your own existence, your own source of power, the source of power of anything that is manifested in this womb of creation. If you are the type of person who enjoys disrespecting women, for example, hates them, treats them as inferior or something, I'm sure, none of you are like that, but there are certain people in the world, right? Such people will simply fail in all of this. They will have no idea of what, authentic spirituality is all about. So, as for people or teachings that say Kundalini is dangerous or makes you crazy, frankly, that's just a bit of nonsense or simple minded understanding. The pure force of Kundalini only heals. That's it. It's pure light. Light is not dangerous. That's silly. The darkness is dangerous. What people are referring to when they say this is some people with certain practices or even using drugs try to instantly awaken their chakras in a powerful way. But this is not awakened in a positive way. They awaken it in a negative way, meaning the ego becomes more empowered. And that's what is dangerous and leads you to illusion and delusion. And so it's wrong to call this Kundalini awakening. This is essentially an egoic awakening. The energy has been awakened in an inverted way. Because right now, all of our chakras are at the grip of our ego. And when you try to amplify the chakras without purifying them, what happens? All your delusions, your hallucinations of reality become amplified, and you become even more confused and misled, only listening to yourself and all the dreams and hallucinations that your ego is sending you in your mind's eye. Kundalini is only authentically awakened through the dissolvement of the ego and through overcoming our personal spiritual challenges, which are all different to each soul. If you have come into this life, you have come to learn specific things, and that's not easy. And so Kundalini awakens when we pass our ordeals, when we pass our challenges, our trials. It is awakened through the merits of our hearts and our deeds too. This is symbolic of why initiations throughout various spiritual traditions have trials that people have to overcome. They reflect the trials that are within, the trials of the heart. This is what initiation means. So let's understand this deeper aspect about the state of which our chakras are in right now, which are in a state of ego. Everyone's always asking, how do I activate my chakras? They're already activated, okay? Otherwise, you would be dead. You would not be an animated soul in this body. They are just activated in negative ways that we are not conscious of. So they are activated, but they are not awakened, meaning not self-realized. And self-realization naturally and innately implies purification and balancing of these chakras through the light of awareness itself. Because if you were really conscious of them directly, you would immediately realize how you've been living and want and intuitively know and sense how to balance them, how to correct yourself, because you would have seen your mistakes. Right now, you're confused, right? You don't know what your mistakes are. You don't know how to awaken because you can't see. You don't know the mistakes you're making from moment to moment every day. Right now, while our consciousness is asleep, our chakras are spinning anti-clockwise to the left. They are inverted. Our suffering makes it spin this way, our resistance. So what we need to do is spin them clockwise in the opposite direction. To understand what direction this should be in, imagine you're driving a car and turning the driving wheel to the right. The way that wheel is spinning in front of you is how the chakras should be spinning within you from that perspective. Okay? So you might be thinking, Gene, this is all nonsense. My third eye is not activated. Oh, really? So I'm guessing you have a perfect life, right? I'm guessing you have never imagined or worry or have fears about how situations in your life could pan out. Perhaps you have a scary meeting with your boss. Are you not seeing a negative outcome in your mind's eye? Are you not anxious about it in different chakras in your belly, right, as well? You're not using your imagination in a negative way. Do you never think bad thoughts of other people or about yourself? You don't have any unconscious dreams? Anytime you use your imagination, which is the power of the third eye, in a destructive, negative, egoic way, you are unconsciously using and abusing your spiritual powers. We've been doing this for so long, though, that it's become completely normalized. And since we don't know what it feels like to have these senses purified, we don't know whether or when we're using them in negative ways and the power and potential this can have on our direct reality. As Buddha says, we create our reality, and through becoming conscious of our reality or realities that we create, we also in turn become conscious of the karma we create too, and thus we are able to dissolve recurring problems in our lives, most likely which has been happening in our past lives too. So we completely normalize this. And, a common saying is, oh, it's just your imagination, right? When really you should not be ignoring that. You need to seek to understand it, meditate with it. And perhaps, as I said before, all of the chakras are linked to each other, right? So let's combine the third eye with the sacral chakra. And when you're playing with yourself, right, you don't imagine egoic fantasies about various people you'd like to sleep with. You see how we're using our spiritual powers for lower needs of the lower chakras. It doesn't have to be sexual desire. It can be lust for wealth, fame, and many other things in the world we chase after with our mouths open like idiots, right? Uh, or maybe you see your friend with the latest iPhone and you suddenly feel a rush of chemical hormones in your body. You feel these sensations of jealousy, of pride, and say, I really want that too. I can't believe he got it before me. I'm so angry. You're moving energy in a negative and unconscious way, and you're not aware of it. You're at the grip of it. You're controlled by it, and you're going to probably make some kind of negative connection with that friend of yours as well. We have no idea how cosmic forces are being used and abused within us for lower manifestations of reality. But instead, if you were conscious and organized your energies positively, you would be genuinely happy for that person, not jealous or angry, and you would be at peace with yourself and not at the grip of desire for a new iPhone when you already have a perfectly good phone, right? You could also certainly feel the temptation to give in to your lower impulses once you've awakened in your lower chakras, right? It can literally be felt there. But because you've been working on yourself and you're sensitive to these energies, with practice and studying the chakras, you become more aware of your own energy field that encompasses your 7 chakras, and you're able to control them and say, no, I choose a more efficient way to utilize my energies. You become a master of yourself. So in conclusion, your chakras are already active. Be conscious of them. To put this all into a more simple perspective, a chakra comes out of balance when a new type of energy arises in the body through experiences, especially through our reactions towards our experiences. But when we don't want to experience something and we resist it, then we are also displacing our chakras out of alignment with reality, making them spin in a different way. And thus, duality, conflict, delusions, and all of that are born. And we try to resist our experience and suffering in the many ways that we all do it. So, this is also how we can understand how serpents or dragons have been portrayed as evil in some mythologies. Because the ego is using the energy of the chakras and basically Kundalini in a negative way. And this is how we can also understand the temptation of Eve, where the serpent ate the fruit offered by the serpent. Because when the ego tries to use the power of Kundalini, it places itself, its darkness, in our chakras where Kundalini is meant to be. Thus, it wrongly takes the form of a serpent. But the pure symbol of the serpent itself is divine, meaning either good or bad. It is a symbol of power, and we can use it in the right way or the wrong way, either through love or through the ego. So, this is how the chakras are unconsciously controlled right now, asleep. We need to control them, just like how we can control our limbs. We can control this energy, you see, the more we get in touch with it. What a kind of sad state we are in right now, just to live by moving our physical bodies only. We don't know that we can actually move and master many subtle forces within our experience. And this is what this is all about. It's about the process of becoming sensitive enough to feel them within our inner body. Right now, the chakras aren't actually a spiritual thing. All ordinary people have chakras, but until one imbues it with spirit, with your own spirit, does it become spiritual then, and becomes a bridge to communicate with higher intelligences of consciousness. After time of practicing, you'll be able to feel your whole magnetic field of awareness, the electromagnetic force of your being, and you'll be better able to sense and feel whether you will react or respond to new energies or people or situations, and be able to stay in a new sense of self-possession, self-mastery. This practice of being deeply in the body grounds you, anchors you in the present moment, and the contemplation of studying the chakras furthers this anchoring too. So, this is what this series is all about as well, having these higher thoughts of contemplation. Just through that, you can feel more intensely present than you ever have before. Generally, we grow up naturally developing the first three chakras, but even as fully grown adults, most people aren't able to develop those, and especially cannot develop the higher chakras, that is, the heart, throat, and head chakras. These currents of electrical energies within us have infinite possibilities, but right now it's sort of like a lake instead of a river. It's just there. And if you tip it a bit, it flows to one side, or perhaps something in your life happens and you react and those energies react too. But the aim of all this is to gain control over these waters of energetic currents and apply to them direction, stimulation, purification, and awakening. These energies are primordial, primal, and so always want to express themselves or be used. And right now, the only way we know how to use them is through our lower compulsions. But the physical body is part of this divine energy as well. As it said, it's made in God's image. And thus, it can't handle so much negative energy being used in the chakras. And so it weakens and manifests into illnesses. And so when we restrain, when we save that energy and work with it, then we have more of it to direct to spiritual realization and healing. This is why the universal symbol for medicine has been of the serpent going up the spine, because this points to the ancient wisdom of when we are in touch with that power, we can sense negative energy before it enters our field of energy, before it enters the body of our temple, and stop it from even entering our energy field in the first place, therefore stopping illnesses from manifesting altogether. When I say energies entering, I mean things that can come from within ourselves, our egos, our temptations, our inner demons, you could say, or also externally. For example, as we progress, we're able to better sense the negative energy of other people too. That doesn't mean we need to cut out those people. you may make that choice, but you become more capable of not unconsciously soaking that energy into yourself. For you can only soak in the unconsciousness of others if you are unconscious of those things within yourself too. Hence why we usually attract people on our similar levels of vibrations. So this is also why Jesus said to Moses, make a snake and put it on a staff, our spine, right? And Moses did. And he showed his people the serpent on the staff and said to them, whoever makes use of this serpent would not be harmed during their journey. So awakening the chakras offers health and spiritual protection. Okay, so in the next episode, we'll be looking in depth at the first chakra, the Muladhara chakra, the root chakra at the base of the spine, where the serpent resides, sleeping peacefully. In the meantime, while you wait, you may want to practice something, right? So I first suggest using guided meditations that involve focusing on body awareness. Especially if you're kind of new to meditation, these guided meditations will help. So I'll leave a couple below in the description, because it's all good and interesting listening to these episodes, but if you really want to deepen your comprehension, practice is vital. It's crucial. So we first have to learn how to enter or how to sense the inner body and the energy of it. Have you been focused? Have you been conscious and aware of your own physical body while you've been listening to this? Okay, so practice this, being present with the body and the inner aliveness. There is so much energy and aliveness within us. And then the practices I'll be giving over the next 8 weeks will be a lot more powerful. And thank you to Ari, Mika, Hypno, Aruperu, and Shiva for supporting the channel through Patreon. As mentioned at the start of the video, if you want to support too, you'll get early access to these episodes and also be able to join our community where you can chat with myself and others about all of this which we're exploring, so we can all take this journey together, hopefully. Thank you everyone, and I'll see you on the next episode.